Hello guys, today we'll do something magical. It's still magical for me, it's still fascinating for me. What we will do is we will install a full Linux operating system on a USB. What we mean by full operating system, meaning you can install all your programs on this USB and you can update them, you can update your system, maybe your kernel, all the things you can update on this USB, and even you can make it encrypted. It is basically different than the live USB that you see all the time, or you have a live ISO, you burn it on a USB and you use it, because the live ISO doesn't have your customization, doesn't have your config files, all the things that you have put on your system, it is not there. Or even if you have created a live ISO using, you cannot update your system the same thing that you do with a full operating system. So we'll have a full operating system with all the extra features that you will have. I have chosen Linux Mint for that because Linux Mint is very user friendly. It has a very good driver support, and many Windows users, if you want to gain the support of Windows users in order for them to switch, you can give them this USB and you tell them, well, use it, and if there's something wrong with this USB, we can change it for you. Instead of changing a hard disk or formatting it, you just give them a USB, another one, so that they will learn and maybe they will stick to Linux eventually. So now for the installation of this operating system on a USB, I will use a Windows machine because it is more accessible for many users. If you are a Linux user, it's very easy for you to install it because we are using the same application, which is VirtualBox. So you can use it, you can follow along with the Windows installation. It's basically the same thing. So let us start. So to do that, we need three files: the VirtualBox application, the VirtualBox extension pack, which comes with the VirtualBox also, and also any USB that you need. I chose Linux Mint because it is the best one for a USB because of its driver support, and I use the Mate edition. Here, the website for the VirtualBox, we have two files for the Windows host, this one which is highlighted, and the other one for all supported platforms. This is for the virtual extension pack, and the other one is for the Windows. For Linux, you need the all supported platforms to install because this one doesn't come with the package manager. For the Linux Mint, all you need is the download the Mate edition. There is 3 editions. The Mate edition is the lightest one. That's why I chose the Mate edition. So let us install the VirtualBox. Very simple. You double click it and it is very easy to install. Very quickly you can install the VirtualBox. Okay, click finish and it is now alright. So let us open it. Okay, so it is open. For the extension pack, you go to tools and you have the install. In the downloads there is the file. You click open, you click install, and directly you can install it. So that's the first thing that we need. The next thing that we'll do is we'll have to create our Linux distribution. So we press new, we put the name, I will choose Mint, and this is Linux Ubuntu, and I click next. I'll keep the memory for 2 GB, the processor 1, CPU. If you want, you can enable here the EFI, but I will enable it in another place where you can also enable it if you forgot it. I click next. The hard drive is 25. You can put it whatever you want. We will not need it for our case. So that's all that is needed. What we need is to check is you can increase the video memory if you want to 256. And also we have to include the ISO. We choose the ISO, it is in the downloads, and we click open. The last thing is the USB. We need to insert our USB. So if we want, we can install the USB now, and you go to setting USB. In the USB 3.0 you can add it, and my USB is a SanDisk USB 3.2, and now you can see that it is 1 and it is available. So all the settings are set. The other thing is the enable EFI. We need to enable EFI if you want, and I prefer to use EFI because most systems nowadays use EFI. Secure boot, it's better not to do it, and also in the BIOS for your computers you need to disable the secure boot. So final check, everything is alright. We can now start with the installation. Okay, we started with the installation. There are many options. We can keep the other option. We directly put the first one and we put enter. It is loading the Linux Mint logo and it's loading the system. For a virtual machine, what you can do for full screen is you press right Control F. Right Control F will make it full screen. But for now, I will not do it because it is still loading a small screen. We have to change it inside the system. So here inside the system, we go to display and we click it. Depending on your monitor, my monitor is 1920 by 1080. Maybe yours is 1366 by 768 or any other. You put your own monitor in order to view it on a full screen if you want. And I click apply. Keep this configuration, close. I can right click Control F. It will give me this one. I say switch and now I am in full screen. So the next thing is there is here on the desktop there is the install Linux Mint, and if you notice the 32 GB it is also available here. It already identified it. I click next for English. You choose whichever language, English, Chinese, anything you like. Also here English. It's better to install the multimedia codecs because it's so you'll have more compatibility in your USB, and it gives you that it identified the USB. I will click yes because we need to unmount it in order to make partitions to it. So we click yes. And here there are two options. I will choose the second option. The first option you can also directly do it, but it's better not to do the first option because for the EFI it's better to do the second. I have not tried the first for the EFI. You can try it also, but if you notice in the first one there is also a full encryption which you can use for that. So you can try this one or this one. For my sake, it worked for me the second one, so that's why I will use the second one. So here, if you notice, we have SDA and SDB. SDB is the USB because it is 32 GB. SDA, you change it to SDB. And we have to work on this SDB. First off, we have to make this new partition table. You click continue. And now it is empty and you can start creating. So first you go to the free space, you click plus and you put 30 GB because we need around 700 or 300 for the booting. So I chose 30 GB. For you have to remove around 400, 500 for the booting. You put primary, beginning of the space. ext4 is also for the installation. The mount point is / and that's it. Okay. So it created, remaining is 765. It's good for me, 765. I will click it. And this one, I will have to choose the use as EFI. I could have used FAT32, but here you don't have any other option for /boot/EFI. Some operating systems, they use this method. But for Linux Mint, what you can do is, so here you put primary and here you use as EFI system partition. It is getting easier because some systems, they don't put this one EFI system partition. So it is easier. Some of them, they use FAT32 and the mount point you will use /boot/EFI. But for this one, it is very simple. They give you use as EFI system partition, making it easier for you. So that's it. ignore this 1 megabyte. This is always is a problem. It keeps this 1 megabyte on each partition. Don't worry about the 1 megabyte. So everything is set up now, and we can start with the installation. It gives me all the information now. I say continue. I can use whichever place. Here it put me New York, maybe in your case, maybe India, maybe Europe, maybe Germany. Depending on your location and your internet, it will give you the location from the internet. So I'll put also continue. You have to put your name. I'll put the name of this USB is Mint. And for the computer name, I can call it Mint My USB. I need a strong password, maybe a fair password for that. You can choose whichever you want. I put my password, I put it again. I continue, require my password to log in. If you want, you can encrypt your home folder. It's very good to encrypt your home folder, especially if you have some data that should not be accessible for most people. I did not do it, and we'll go for continue. Now it will install. It will take around 5 to 10 minutes. I will let it install and we'll come back when it's finished. Okay, so installation finished. So also here you right click Control F, right Control F, and you finish. And you also go to optical disk and you remove all of the USB inside your computer. That's it. You remove the USB from your computer and you log in on any computer that you want. I have booted the USB on my laptop, and if you notice, this is Mate Linux Mint with Mate desktop. It has many of the things that you need. You can have all the Office suite is available. You will have Firefox. There is Thunderbird. If you want to have your emails backed up on this USB, you can also do it. There's the web apps that they are very good at. And if you notice here for the administration, in case when you are using a laptop or a desktop which has NVIDIA, you can also install NVIDIA for this one computer if it has NVIDIA. And if you notice here in the administration, you go to driver manager. It will look for your drivers and it will suggest the NVIDIA. If you have an NVIDIA, what is the best one for you? And if you notice here, it is using the open source Nouveau open source driver. If you want, you can install this NVIDIA, but you have to make sure you install only one NVIDIA, so you will use it only on one computer which has NVIDIA. Or if you have integrated a laptop with integrated graphics with Intel or NVIDIA, there is no problem because it will directly use the Intel one. So if you notice here, it identified that I am using an old NVIDIA driver which is 470. You can press this 470 and you can apply changes and install it, so you will have a better experience on your specific laptop. That's it for all the things. So this is also Linux Mint. If you want to check the RAM usage, for example, it is using around 814 megabytes of RAM, and we have to bear in mind I am using also a screen recorder. So it's basically around 500 megabytes of RAM, which is not much. You can use it on an old laptop if you want, there is no problem. Or if you want to have more power for your USB, you can install a window manager. You will also save around 150, 200 megabytes of RAM also from your system. So on this one, let's say you want to install OpenBox. So what you'll have to do is you press sudo apt install OpenBox. If you don't know about OpenBox, there is a lot of videos I will cover on OpenBox and how to customize it. And you put the password be careful just to remember the password, because in Linux there always is a password, and you know, these days not everyone understands the remembers passwords. So OpenBox is installed. What you'll have to do is you take all your config files. If you have a config files for OpenBox, you come and put them in the folder. Which folder? Just for the record, let's say I press here, let me press Ctrl H, so we'll get all these hidden files. We go to config. There is no OpenBox here, so here you have to create a folder. You call it OpenBox, and you put the rc.xml, the startup, and menu.xml, and you will get going. So if you enter into OpenBox now, it will be empty. There's no, or you go for the default. Linux Mint Mate is the lightest one you will have from Linux Mint. It has Linux Mint in general has a very good driver support. If you notice, my Wi-Fi is working, my recording audio is working. Also, if you put a printer, it will be working. Most probably they have the support for the printers. Also, what I told about the NVIDIA driver, also it is available, and it is very user friendly, especially in the control center. You will have most of the things that you will need and configure. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this USB walkthrough. I hope many will use this USB method in order to have a spare operating system in your pocket or in a shelf, so that if any problem happens, you can take it with you directly and you can log in on any computer and utilize all the software that you are familiar with. That's it for now, guys, and we'll come back with another video.